path to perfecting the art of being an artist is not a linear path. It's more like a giant, massive web. It's full of ups and downs, and sometimes it seems like it's nothing but downs. It's full of times where you're going to be extremely inspired and other times where you won't feel like making a single doodle in your sketchbook. The true art of being an artist, it comes from doing. It comes from working when you're tired. It comes from going even though you know you might fail. We learn this in the studio. Welcome to my studio.
All right, welcome back, my artists. Today we're going to be doing your major studio. But you know what? There's not much I can show you on this, and here's the reason why. What I'm going to ask you to do today is I'm going to ask you to make me a drawing. It can be anything that you want it to be. Here's the catch. I need to see that you've used line, shape, pattern, and texture to create it. You're not using color and you're not using values, so no shading. This is going to be a simple line drawing, contour drawing, and it's going to be using, again, line, shape, pattern, texture. It can be anything that you want, as long as it's school appropriate. You want to make sure that you're filling the page. So fill the page up. You're going to want to use a pencil or a pen for this. If you are working digitally, that's okay. So I will give you one example. I'm going to draw a really quick apple. You'll notice that I've made the apple using pretty much the same kind of line. Well, for the sake of this project, there are two things I want you to consider. One, if you were to hand this in, I'm going to say, well, you didn't give me a good sense of different kinds of lines, and you didn't fill the page. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take the line of the apple and I want to play around with it. I want to try making maybe variable line pressure. Yeah, some of this can get a little bit into the realm of looking like it's shading. I just don't want you to go out of your way to shade. Maybe I want to go with a darker edge on that there. All right, so I already have just two types of lines now. I have a solid, consistent line, and now I have this variable line or dark line, but I can go further with it. I want to be making sure that I'm using different kinds of shapes, different kinds of lines, different kinds of pattern, and of course, creating different textures with this apple. So I need to start thinking about what do I want the side of the apple to look like. I want to start thinking about how can I fill in some of these areas. So for instance, my stem is an open shape, whereas the apple body is a closed shape. So two down. Next, I'm thinking about a geometric shape, or at least part of a geometric shape. Maybe this is my tabletop, and maybe I'm gonna have it on a pedestal. For pattern, well, I can have fun with patterns. So I'm gonna go back to my apple, and I'm gonna be thinking about how the apple is broken up into an area that is shadow, and it's got an area that's going to be light. So I wanna start thinking about how can I use some patterns to fill in this space. Have fun with this drawing, don't overthink it, don't try to make it super realistic. It's probably gonna look like this strange modge podge of different things. That's okay. I like to start these drawings off with a basic simple line drawing, kind of change around with my pencil pressure as I'm working on it, and then just have fun with it. Don't worry about what the end product's going to be. Take your shapes, fill them with patterns. Those patterns will help create textures. In the end, I may have something that looks like an apple, and I may have something that looks like a nightmare. Doesn't matter. I'm just experimenting with the elements of art. Sometimes we get caught up in those end products and we lose sight of just playing. Just play with this. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about trying to impress anyone. Just draw. If you end up getting some elements that are shaded, that's okay. Your main focus is to focus on the line, shape, pattern, and texture. But in doing so, any artist is probably going to start picking up on elements of value. Obviously, subconsciously, I'm going to be pressing down on this pencil harder or lighter. That's going to create a sense of value. I'm going to block in areas like where I cross-hatched here. Well, that was kind of like shading. You just don't want to have it be a focus. You don't want to be intentionally going out of your way to shade. Rather, you're just building patterns. If those patterns turn into shade, that's fine. The hardest part about this assignment is going to be to just keep on going. Even if things don't feel like they've turned out too well, like I'm being pretty sloppy with this background right now, But I also know that if I just keep on going with it, eventually it's going to tie together. From here, I want to think about what I'm going to do to fill in the bottom section, but I can also start thinking about how can I make this apple look like it's popping back out again. Well, one way I can do that is to either add more content to the apple or more content to the background. In this particular edge, I think it'd be easier to add more content to the background than to the apple. So I'm going to keep playing around with this and see how far I can take it. But for you today, your focus is going to be, again, to give me different kinds of lines to create your image, different kinds of shapes, different kinds of patterns, and in doing so, you'll create different kinds of textures. So have fun with this, play around with it. Don't forget to vary your pencil pressure. Don't forget to change the angle that you're holding the pencil. Play around with the artwork. Don't just draw and say, I'm done. Look at it and keep on thinking, what else can I do? Is there areas where I can maybe darken a line a little bit more? Or is there an area where I can change a shape or make a pattern more complex? Play around with this.
All right, so to recap for this assignment, you are going to make a drawing of your choice. You're going to make sure you're not emphasizing shading or adding color. You're going to make sure to use line, shape, pattern, and texture. You're going to fill the page. And you're going to make sure to use all the different kinds of line, shape, pattern, and texture that we went over and anything you want to experiment with.
This should take you about 40 minutes or so to start and complete. So take your time with it. Can't wait to see what you make. Until next time, my artists, have a great day.